live in a connected world. You've heard that phrase a lot, right? How connected our world is. We also live in a culture of disconnect. What do I mean about that? Well, I'm walking through the airport as I'm flying in. And I'm coming from Philadelphia and I had to connect through Dallas, and every airport was the same way. I'm walking through the airport and everybody had their face in their smartphone. Now, from a connected perspective, I understood that. They were trying to figure out where to go, where their gate was, and everything. That's where technology is fantastic. But then as I kept walking, I looked into the restaurants, and people this close were sitting there and apparently having a conversation on their smartphone with one another. They weren't dialoguing. And the same issue is happening in our households, right? How many people have kids, right? And how many times do you look over at your children and they're on their smartphone and their head is buried in there, right? And how do they communicate with their friends? They text, they chat, they do all of that. The connected economy is great that way. Technology is wonderful that way. Technology also, on the flip side of it, is not good because people are starving for human interaction. And in the sales world, they're absolutely starving for interaction. Buyers want you to connect with them. 85% of your financial success is dependent upon your personality. Your ability to connect emotionally with people, your ability to have conversations with people. 85%, Carnegie Institute of Technology research study. Actually, this next trait makes up 40% of your job performance. This next trait. It's how you make people feel. It's how you make people feel important. And it's one trait that we all have, but it represents 40% of your job performance. One trait. That trait is listening. Listening. The trait is not technology-based. It's psychology-based. So the art of active listening is extraordinarily important these days. And that's what EQ is all about. It's how do you understand that? And there are high performers out there that are doing this right now. We call them ultra high performers. You'll hear me say UHPs all throughout. These ultra high performers understand this. They know how to leverage EQ. They know how to connect with people a lot better. They know how to adapt, and they know how to leverage technology to their benefit. And they're absolutely knocking the door down. Massive disconnect between the buyer and the seller as it relates to sales. And the disconnect is this. In sales, typically we're working on logic, right? We're working the sales process. We're telling a customer, a prospect, about our product and our service. Whereas the buyer is operating on a whole other level of emotion. They're focused on you, and they want to get to know you as a person. Whereas we are trying to get after them and pitch product. And we're completely missing it from a sales perspective right now. These ultra-high performers aren't. They get it. Here's the other thing. Why this is so important. And it's what technology does and allows us. Technology allows this buyer to now know in upwards of 60% more about your product and service and you before you ever walk in the door. But what's happening? You're walking in the door and you're pitching them. And you're telling them all about something that they already know about. And all they want to know is, do you connect with me? Do you understand me? In essence, do I like you is what they're thinking. These ultra-high performers understand this. They get it, and they practice it day in and day out. 90% of top performers, this is a study that's been done by TalentSmart, 90% of the top performers out there, the people that are hitting their numbers, have high EQ. They understand this factor, 90% of them. And EQ accounts for 58% of their job function. And they make on average $29,000 more. So the proof is in the pudding. The studies are showing this right now. That the people that leverage, that really understand EQ, that put these principles into play, they're the ones that are really, really successful. and they're intentional about it. You heard it today when Mark was talking about it in his keynote, right? He said, you can be intentional about building relationships.